Hello and welcome to the show. I am here on Forza 6 with another silly car build. You guys wanted to see me have a go with a Lotus 11, so here it is. I'll be honest, I think this might not be very easy to drive. The Lotus 11 is incredibly light, can have a lot of power. I don't know what it's going to do in the wet, but the chances are it's not going to stay pointing in a straight line very easily. Yeah, it's a fairly crazy vehicle. This one, actually quite hard to build them to certain classes because it is so light. If you try and put stupid amounts of power in, they become incredibly undrivable. And this is going to have a stupid amount of power in it because we can have the Ariel Atom V8 engine in it, which does get a lot of power, and it makes the car even lighter than it wants to start with. I wonder if we can get this. It probably won't get this under £1,000, come to think of it, because we will be putting the twin turbos on the engine, up to 600 horsepower already in a Lotus 11. We will, of course, be needing these bits. We will be needing all of the aero possible to maybe potentially keep the thing-ish on a road somewhere. I think that is the best way to describe it. Admittedly, I have said this. I haven't driven this car. I don't think I've driven this car in this game yet, but I know what the Lotus 11 has been like in previous experiences, and I suspect it will be like it again. 195s on the front. Yeah, they're not particularly big. What tyre size is the standard? 150. Tiny tyres on the front. Oh god, 195s on the rear. So we're going to have, I think this engine gets nearly 800 horsepower going through tiny tyres in a car that weighs absolutely nothing. Probably not going to end particularly well. It will be very, very much around the £1,000 mark. I don't know if we can quite sneak it under. Again, things like roll cage, they are going to add a bit of weight on to the vehicle. I'm hoping maybe like we'll have an exhaust upgrade or something that we can potentially put on the car. The brakes add some weight. Normally it takes chunks of weight off, but if it helps the car get stopped, certainly not going to complain about that one. PI is pretty damn high already. Not that we've really touched the engine too much. We'll get a little bit more power out of it. It's likely to go up into R class. Yeah, okay, it only has £16, and that adds a whole heap of PI because it's just hopefully giving the car that little bit more control. It's at least right to the engines. No, we don't get exhaust, so we're not going to see it go under £1,000 unless the turbo. We've got intercooler as well to come, so no, we won't be seeing it. It's going to be absurd power to weight ratio, basically. In this vehicle, probably one of the highest power to weight ratios of any car in this game, I would imagine. Maybe the Fiat 595 can potentially get close to it in terms of power to weight, but yeah, it's got a monstrous engine in a tiny lightweight car with tiny tyres. So yeah, nearly 800 horsepower in the Lotus 11. PI, it is okay. It's higher than the Lancia target car. Certainly not the highest that we have seen, though. I suspect to do with the fact that it doesn't expect the car to handle particularly well. But now I have to go and fight the Lotus around a rather wet circuit. Yeah, quite terrified, really, of what this car is going to end up being like. And of course, my test track of choice is the Brands Hatch Indy circuit, where the Lotus is going to get 6 laps to try and go as fast as possible. Our current leader is the Lancia Beta race car with a lap time of 49.8 seconds. A target that I suspect the Lotus may struggle to really be getting near. It'll certainly have the bonkers acceleration, but will it have the composure? I'm guessing no. That was much wheel spin, much wheel spin off the line. I suspect we're probably not going to be able to get this car to full throttle around the course of the lap. We have had a couple of cars that haven't been able to do it. I suspect this is going to add to that list because the wheel spin is absolutely manic. Even if we're gonna have to probably short shift. I mean, in fourth, even in fourth down there, it's still just wanting to spin those rear wheels. That's probably not going to end too nicely. Lotus, come on there. There we go. And you don't really want to be going sideways. Well, maybe you do. There is no grip. There is absolutely nothing in this car. Are we going to be able to get full throttle down here without spinning the wheels? No, even in fifth, and the bumps are horrendous. That's not fun. Yeah, the bumps make everything 10 times worse down there. That's a way, I guess, to take that first corner. Probably not the way I was quite going for, but never mind. Let's leave it in third. I think third might be a good gear for all of this. The puddle's not going to be fun, though. We're going to hit the puddle. It's going to kind of... Well, it kind of killed all of our momentum while dragging us sideways, so it didn't really affect us. Well, it slowed us down a bit, but it didn't have a horrendous accident, so... it could be worse, I guess. Right, we'll maybe go up to fourth here. Again, they still got wheel spin. There's actually quite a lot of understeer as well from this car. Oh no, we're going to do exactly the same thing again. I think I bumped the curb through there. It's not a good place to put your car. Yeah, while it's mostly masked by the fact that, it wants to oversteer out of every single corner, it is actually quite a lot of understeer. You can't really carry that much corner speed, and then you definitely can't put any power down out the other side. Things are about to go really badly wrong for me. I had a rear wheel on the grass, and we're in the tyre bundle. Those bumps down that straight are horrible. They're really not nice. I was trying to get a good line for turn one. Oh, we got very twitchy all of a sudden. And is another fear with a car like this, especially with as much wheel spin and short wheelbase and very little in the way of weight. It can be quite a twitchy vehicle, and sure enough, that one there did me in. Well, this lap is going to be horrendous, but that's okay. At least it's all happened on this lap. That's my crashing lap out of the way, I hope. Fingers crossed, at least. We can not have any more silly accidents. We've got to be really careful of the bumps around here, as there are likely to be understeer. God, it doesn't turn in. Doesn't turn in at all. It does kind of remind me quite a lot of the Maserati Birdcage, this one. It's kind of a very similar, far too much power in a tiny lightweight chassis with absolutely ridiculously tiny tyres. Now, we can't go too far to the left, because if things go wrong across a bump, we might end up in trouble. I'm going kind of early on the brakes, because I really don't trust this car to get stopped through there too well. I don't know why. I'm not particularly trusting in the Lotus 11. Funnily enough, considering it's already spat me off the road a couple of times, it's not like the RX-3. I love the RX-3. It wasn't the quickest car around here, certainly, but it was kind of just good fun to drive and remarkably easy despite having silly power. This has silly power and is not remarkably easy to drive in any way, shape or form. Oh, good God, I only tried to give it a fraction more power through there, and that was just the back end gone. It just snaps on you, and it's once it starts going, because of the conditions and because of the car, once it started going, it is so hard to save it. Certainly trying to save it and with sort of keeping any sort of speed does not work particularly well. I think fourth gear was relatively good down here for not sliding the goddamn curb. Yeah, I saw as soon as I just drifted that tiny bit wide, I actually got a very nice line down there. As soon as that rear wheel sort of started going out towards the curb, I knew what was going to happen. But there's nothing you can do at that point. There is nothing you can do if you run across that curb out there to stop it once it's gone that far. It's not a fun time to be had on the curb. Now, we can't really seem to use very much in the way of throttle. I'm just keeping it in fourth gear through here. Now we're going to overshoot through this part. It is such an awkward car to try and drive. The understeer makes things 10 times worse. If the front end actually got turned in okay, it wouldn't be as bad. But the fact that we have so much understeer and combined with the horrendous traction and oversteer, I think part of the issue, I was just having a look at how much braking I'm using. The car feels like it wants to lock the front wheels very, very easily, more so than we've seen from previous vehicles. It really does feel like it wants to lock those front wheels up. So I'm having to be quite cautious under braking, so despite the fact that we're not going massively fast into that first corner, I'm having to still brake relatively early because I don't feel like I can go very late on the brakes. It's the way the controller's vibrating and the sounds I'm hearing, it does very much feel like it locks the brakes up incredibly easy. We are on a decent enough final lap though for the Lotus, as I'm trying frantically to get the power down out of that last corner. No, we can't go to full throttle. Oh, we got a decent lap in at the end there. 52.8 from the Lotus, but that is hard work. That is really, really hard work to keep this car on the road, as I quite expected it to be. The Lotus 11 is awkward as anything to try and drive. It is so light, so twitchy. I don't have any confidence in the brakes. Very much feels like it's going to lock up incredibly easily. The curbs are horrendous. I wasn't going massively fast when I put a wheel over the edge of that curb there, but you hit it and it's going to spin it around because the car is so lightweight and so on. Yeah, probably one of the toughest cars I've had to drive around here, I think. And that's not surprising when you have this much power and this little weight. The lap time is, well, 52.8 is actually not too bad. Certainly it's not down there with the ridiculous cars. It goes into 14th place. It is a tenth of a second down on the Mazda RX-3. It's actually closer to the RX-3 than I was expecting it to be. It's a tenth of a second quicker than the Challenger Hellcat. Despite all of its silliness, if you can just about string that lap together without it wanting to murder you, because it is, it's got such a huge power to weight ratio, if you can make the most of it in the little places where it is available, it can still go quite quickly. But yeah, through the corners there is no grip whatsoever. So yeah, it's not perhaps so surprising to see it down towards the bottom of the table. It could have been a lot worse though, certainly, for the Lotus. Well, it may not have gone particularly fast around the track. I suspect the speed run will be more to the Lotus's liking. Of course, to find the Lotus's top speed, we have come to the Le Mans circuit. Now, whenever we do, or whenever I've done the low horsepower speedrun challenges, the Lotus 11 always wins. It does not take, I think it's around 200 horsepower. You can get this car to 200 miles an hour, so it doesn't take very much horsepower to get this car to go quickly because, well, it's a pretty damn good shape for cutting through the air. Very good aerodynamics on this vehicle. And we have near enough 800 horsepower, so we should be able to get it to a relatively high speed. It's whether it's going to be controllable or not at this high speed that is the bigger issue. It reckons at the moment 253 miles an hour. Let's extend these gear ratios. Okay, that's maybe a little too far. Now, what to do with the aero is actually a bit of an interesting conundrum. It may help taking the aero off, of course. Reducing drag is always a good idea for speed runs. However, I have seen on a very few cars that reducing the aero actually causes more trouble for the vehicle. The reason being that it becomes uncontrollable. The GMC Cyclone is one such example. What is going to be the case with the Lotus? I suspect it will improve the speed, but indeed it does. Okay, so that's not quite the case with this car. I fear for my life, really, in this vehicle. 261. It reckons. Now, if we can do that speed, we will become the second fastest car. It's not quite going to be enough to challenge a 250 LM speed-wise. It's more going to be a case of, can I control the car at these speeds? We saw the issues it had across the bumps at Brands Hatch. Oh, good God. In the dry, in fourth gear, we still spin the wheels if we go full throttle. That's really something. Now, we did have, what was it that spun the wheels the entire way down? Well, we had the front-wheel drive cars spun the wheels. Was it the Skyline, I think? The Skyline that could spin the wheels horrendous amounts trying to put the power down. That had bigger tyres than this one. I think it did have slightly more power in it. But, yeah, that had some real issues with traction, even in the dry. This is looking a similar story. Calmed it down a little bit. We have got warmed the tyres up now as we head towards the start line. Oh, I knew that, but the second I turned in, I forgot about that bump and then immediately realised we were going to have issues when it just went. I tried to catch it, but you're not going to be able to. across there. Not with this car. That bump has seen many cars head towards the wall. I fear we're not going to make the corner at the end. I don't think there's any way we're going to make the corner at the end of the straight, quite frankly. If we can get up to 260 before that corner, that would be great. Now, we have to be really careful here. Across the bumps there. Right. Oh, God, no. Full throttle there's not quite working. Right. Full throttle, fourth gear. We are spinning the wheels some. It has now found grip. It's 200 miles an hour coming around there, but it is also spinning the wheels like crazy. Yeah, there we go. It is spinning the wheels at 240 miles an hour. It's billowing smoke out of the back of it. 250 miles an hour. Oh, God, we're going to take off. This is not good. 255, 257. Come on. I want the 260, but we're not going to make it. That's a big wheelie. That's a big wheelie again. We're going to have an issue. Oh, we're going to have a really big issue. Okay, we're going sideways down the straight. That's, I mean, that's a new one. I will we didn't even get to the corner to find out what it would do there. Okay, I might possibly have to have another go with the Lotus. I want to see if we can make it to the corner. We're not going to make it around the corner really, and it's not exactly going to take us very long to get back to the other end of the straight. This gets up to its speed ridiculously fast. It does not need very long at all to be doing the 200 plus miles an hour, but dear God, it moves about so much down here. We're up to 240 as it's wanting to do more wheelies. More downforce at the front might be a good idea. That is some seriously impressive wheelies going on. This is not going to work here, is it? We're going to end up with the understeer into the outside wall. Not particularly spectacular. Right, okay. We're just going to slow it down here and a quick turn. Right, Lotus. Fire you down this way eventually once we can find some traction. There we go. How quickly can we hit 200? Having set off from there, to be fair, the hypercars will probably do it quicker because I can actually put the power down in the hypercars than this thing. There we go. Once it gets traction, it accelerates like mad, but just trying to get that traction is ridiculous. So what side of the road was I on when I did a wheelie? I should have tried to remember that. I don't know which bit's smoother. It's never really come up before. With cars, I'm flat out. I feel the controller vibrating. It's telling me the wheels are spinning like crazy. That's not a good sight to be going down. Okay, we've still got our foot down at 245 miles an hour. It's not going to be quicker. Uh-oh, 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 uh-oh. What? We made the turn. We brushed the wall, but we made the turn without it getting launched. Sure. Yeah, the Lotus 11 is as crazy and stupid, really, as you would expect it to be. Some glorious bouncy wheelies down that straight. Yeah, a little bit quicker around the track than I perhaps thought. Perhaps a little bit more controlled than I feared it could end up being, but it's still an incredibly twitchy and difficult thing to control with this much power. The straight line speed is epic. However, you can't really get to it down the Mon. The problem is it is too bumpy for the Lotus, and the Lotus just wants to go skyward. It's too small and too light to deal with the bumps down here, so we get some massive wheelies from the car. Its speed, though, even with all of the problems down here, is going to be enough to see it go into second place on the table. It's still 10 or so miles an hour down on the 250 LM, but it does go quicker than the BMW 1M, the Mercedes C63, the Maserati Birdcage, and so on. A very impressive speed, despite all of the problems that it has going across the bumps down there. But that is it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.